Aire mi aliento,
aire mi aliento,
fuego mi espíritu.
fuego mi espíritu.
BHP Billiton mining projects in Colombia. Statement to shareholders. BHP Billiton has been heavily involved in two major mining projects in Colombia over the last 2 decades, El Cerrejón and Cerro Matoso. El Cerrejón is an enormous open-cut coal mine in the province of La Guajira. BHP Billiton has jointly owned this mine since 2000 with Anglo-American and Glencore Xstrata. Cerro Matoso, another enormous mining project located in the province of Córdoba, and a large smelting complex to produce ferronickel. BHP Billiton owned Cerro Matoso outright until 2015, when it was transferred to the Perth-based company South 32. Given that the same 4 shareholders, namely JP Morgan, HSBC, Citigroup and National Nominees, own a controlling interest in both BHP Billiton and South 32, the transaction cannot properly be referred to as an arm's-length sale and purchase agreement. Last year, 2 landmark decisions of the Constitutional Court in Colombia recognised the social and environmental catastrophes that the communities living around both mining projects are experiencing, and held that mining operations have been important contributing factors to the dire conditions the communities face in each instance. Judgment 2302 of 2017 in the case of Cerrejón and Judgment 2T733 of 2017 in the case of Cerro Matoso. In its 2015 annual report, BHP Billiton described the ferronickel complex at Cerro Matoso as the lowest cost producer of ferronickel in the world. It is now an undisputable fact that this has largely been at the cost of the local communities to whom all social and environmental costs have been externalised. That the mining and smelting operations at Cerro Matoso have directly caused social and environmental devastation in the region, a fact that the company has consistently and vehemently denied, was recently recognised and documented by a detailed medical study ordered by the Constitutional Court in Judgment T733 of 2017. We demand that the company doesn't attempt to use the supposed sale of Cerro Matoso as a pretext to deny their legal and financial responsibility for the ownership and management of the project over the last 2 decades, when most of the damage was inflicted on the communities located around the mine, mostly members of the Zenu indigenous people. In the case of the communities affected by Cerrejón, mostly members of the Wayuu indigenous people, we demand that the company fully cooperates with all levels of the Colombian state and, most importantly, with the full participation and prior informed consent of the affected communities to implement the orders of the Constitutional Court in Judgment T302 of 2017 in good faith. This includes the elaboration of immediate and long-term strategies to remedy the catastrophic social and environmental conditions the communities in the region face. A necessary step that must be taken immediately is a substantial reduction in the amount of water used by Cerrejón until the regional water supply shortage has been completely resolved. Many communities in the region have no water supply infrastructure at all, and dozens of Wayuu children have literally died from malnutrition as a result, apart from the many thousands that are severely affected, albeit not to the point of death yet, while the company uses millions of litres of water in its daily operations on a preferential basis. Another aspect is the horrific violence that has been unleashed against community leaders in the regions where the mining projects are located over the last 3 decades. A ferocious and unrelenting campaign of terror and social control has been waged against community leaders in both regions in the vicinity of Cerrejón and Cerro Matoso, respectively. In particular against those leaders that have confronted Cerro Matoso and Cerrejón and sought justice for their communities. Over 30 social leaders from the communities around Cerro Matoso alone have been assassinated in a ruthless and systematic campaign of terror, plunder and social control. The violence and attacks intensified when community leaders started trying to obtain information regarding the legal ownership of relevant properties, as well as economic and environmental details about the mining projects and their impacts. Irrespective of whether the management of BHP Billiton has directly or indirectly collaborated with the perpetrators of these attacks or not, the company and the 4 shareholders mentioned above in particular have been the primary beneficiary of all these developments and must recognise its responsibility and commit itself to clarifying and rectifying the situation. More generally, who are the executives that are responsible for the operations in Colombia? Can they explain how the company has managed to operate with so little difficulty in 2 regions where the local communities have been terrorised and disseminated by the illegal armed groups that dominate each region? Did they reach an agreement with the armed groups so that operations could continue? Or has the company actively collaborated with the armed groups, and if so, to what extent? The targeted and systematic terror campaign waged against local communities attempting to confront the company strongly suggests tolerance by the company, if not some degree of collaboration, in at least some of the many attacks and assassinations that have occurred. Not only have the armed groups not disrupted corporate production, they have actively deployed against opponents of or impediments to the mining projects. What has BHP Billiton done to denounce these attacks and protect the lives and welfare of the people living in these communities? Is the company willing to participate in the ongoing Truth and Justice Commissions in Colombia to clarify what has been happening in these regions, how the violence has affected the company, and what strategies have been employed to enable to continue production largely unaffected by the turmoil and rampant violence? More information from the Latin American Solidarity Network, LASNet.
Agua mi sangre,
Agua mi sangre,
aire mi aliento,
aire mi aliento,
fuego mi espíritu.
fuego mi espíritu.